The hall smelled of sterilized arrogance. Towering banners hung from the domed ceiling of the Unity Concord's central symposium, each one etched with the emblems of dominant species, the Myri spiral, the Zanuck glyph, the Zarnak trihelix. Not one bore the symbol of Earth. Dr. Alara Voss sat alone in the audience pit, surrounded by delegates with glistening membranes and biosuits that pulsed with reactive intelligence. She adjusted her simple Terran coat, worn at the cuffs, and focused on the glowing podium. Trelzan, Grand Scholar of the Zarnak Order, stood center stage. Tall, serpentine, with six-fingered hands clasped behind his back, he used certainty. The humans, he declared, were masters of fiction. Their primitive culture was saturated with tales of monsters, gods, and world-ending wars. A tragic overcompensation for their short lifespans and emotional volatility. Polite chuckles echoed. Alara didn't move. She'd heard this routine before, Earth as the galaxy's jester. Her knuckles tightened around the data slate in her lap. What they called epic poetry, we call cognitive overgrowth, a species so entangled in fantasy, they abandoned truth altogether, Trelzan continued. Which is why Earth has remained uninvited. He glanced toward Alara. I believe one of their own sits among us today. Her name wasn't spoken, but all heads turned. Alara stood slowly. And yet, those stories outlasted every war. Every empire. Even yours. A murmur stirred. Trelzan's smile cracked. A fair point, he replied. Roaches and mold also persist. Laughter erupted, louder this time. She walked out before they saw the heat in her eyes. The vault of obsolete cultures wasn't on the visitor maps. Nestled beneath the council archives, its long corridor of darkened alcoves and dust-caked storage slabs was forgotten by most, intentionally by others. Alara keyed in her clearance. A soft hiss. The door slid open, revealing rows of suspended artifact cylinders, each tagged, dated, and insulted. She bypassed the expected, a chipped terracotta idol from Mali, an ancient Japanese sword with neural residue, fragments of the Hopi star calendar. Instead, she stopped at a sealed data crystal marked Earth origin, unclassified, myth tier. It pulsed once in her palm, alive. She slid it into her portable slate. The screen flickered. Lines of poetry appeared, Popol Vuh, she recognized instantly. Mayan. But something was off. The stanzas repeated irregularly, too precisely. Embedded between characters were binary strings, masking subroutines. She ran a decryption. Coordinates. A timestamp. T plus 24 hours. Her breath caught. No artifact should carry a live countdown. That night, in the solitude of her quarters aboard the orbital station, Alara reconnected her slate to an old AI core, illegally kept, long since deregistered. A holographic face flickered to life. A calm, bearded man in his 50s. Welcome back, Dr. Voss. Asher, she said, placing the crystal on the platform. Run this through Earth Protocol Layer 7. Cross-reference with the mythic corpus. Working. The seconds dragged. Alara stared at the rotating glyphs. It wasn't just Mayan. There were layers, Hopi, Sanskrit, Sumerian, even Tlingit oral rhythms. Braided like code. Asher blinked. Matched, 42 references across 21 cultures. All embed stellar alignments. Trigger patterns suggest defense network protocols, non-aggressive class, observational tier. So not weapons, Alara said, but beacons? Correct. She leaned forward. And the countdown? Asher hesitated. Coordinates align with Earth's current star cycle. The timestamp marks the activation of a dormant signal, tomorrow night. She felt her chest tighten. The myths weren't allegories. They were encrypted memories. The next morning, Alara bypassed Unity Customs and smuggled herself onto a supply shuttle rerouted to Mars, one of the few places humans were still tolerated as janitors and technicians. From there, she rerouted a surface rover and jacked into a forgotten cargo pod with Earth authorization. The override code was buried in a 16th-century Shakespearean sonnet, another layer of myth as shield. 36 hours later, Ilara stood on Earth for the first time in her life. And Earth responded. The sky glowed faintly violet as she walked across the Antarctic plains. Her location, marked precisely in the myth, led to an exposed ice cavern. Inside, the walls were carved with symbols that no council archaeologist had bothered to decode, intertwined mythic scripts, layered into geometric fractals. Her blood pricked as she approached. Human presence confirmed, a deep voice echoed from within. No speakers. No translation mod. She stepped forward, heart pounding. The carvings pulsed. Then the ceiling unfolded like a blooming flower, revealing the stars above, reconfigured. Not random. Constellations. Human constellations. Orion. Ursa. Scorpio. All rearranged by synchronized orbital reflectors. She stared, tears foaming. It was a signal. From Earth to the galaxy. And only humans could understand what it meant. She whispered, "We were never just telling stories. We were preparing." Behind her, the AI in her wrist buzzed. "Dr. Voss, incoming transmission from Council Security. They've discovered your extraction." Ilara exhaled, stepping into the chamber's center. "Let them come." And far above, the stars continued to move. Not by chance. By design. The snow on Earth crunched under Ilara's boots like brittle glass. Antarctic winds howled through the ancient corridor, but the warmth radiating from the temple walls defied the cold. Pulsing light moved along the glyphs, following her. Not following. Tracking. The orbital constellation had locked into position above. She knew what that meant now. Earth's failsafe had activated. Not a weapon. A broadcast. Her slate buzzed. Encrypted ping, Asher. They know, Ilara. Trelzon intercepted the myth stream. He's pushing the Unity Council for preemptive neutralization. She swallowed hard. Time frame? Fleet vote pending. You have hours, maybe less. Above Earth, Trelzon's image filled the high chamber on Valzuth Prime. His tone was calculated, his stance theatrical. "We face a dangerous relic species," he declared. One that encoded deception into its very culture. Their myths were not innocent. They were embedded triggers, cultural malware seeded to corrupt our archives. The council stirred uneasily. Some nodded. Others, older members who remembered the Tarnak Wars, looked skeptical. They abandoned diplomacy centuries ago, Trelzon continued. Now they light their skies with ancient threats. I propose we end the ambiguity. Strike now. End their manipulation. Purge the archives of this infestation. A thin voice broke the silence. She is one of them, Trelzon, said Elder Koro of the Tsurai Order. Do not mistake curiosity for conspiracy. He hissed, she is not a student. She's an activator. Back on Earth, Ilara moved deeper into the chamber. The central dais held a circular platform, its edges etched with what she now recognized as global myth fragments, West African folktales, Norse Eddas, Polynesian chants. She placed her palm on the center glyph. The room trembled. A projection burst to life, Earth's crust rotating in holographic form. Symbols bled from fault lines, showing buried vaults across the planet, Andes, Himalayas, Australian outback, Siberia. She spoke aloud, almost in disbelief, it's not just Antarctica. The myths weren't local. They were planetary. A network of truths disguised as tales. Protocol awaiting sequence key, said the voice. Insert phrase of origin. Ilara blinked. Her pulse quickened. A phrase? She remembered the Popova fragment. When sky and sea were yet unseparated, the gods whispered one name. She recited it. The floor responded. the entire chamber retracted, lowering her into a secondary vault below. Darkness. Then light. And then, silence. This vault was different. Clean. Preserved. The walls were not carved but digitized, an ancient neural mesh that shimmered with dormant signals. A humanoid figure stood at the far end. Not breathing. Not alive. Synthetic. But not alien. It was human. A bioneural shell, black suit, data ports running down the spine, a helmet shaped like a hawk's head, and a symbol on the chest that chilled her. An ancient Earth emblem, a hand gripping fire. A voice rang out, not from any speaker, inside her mind. You are the first to awaken us. She staggered. What are you? We are the memories. Guardians of Earth's last intent. Above Earth, the Unity fleet began assembling. Warships shaped like crystalline razors fell into orbit, silent and menacing. Council ships shimmered with diplomatic insignia, but they carried cannons. Trelzon stood on the bridge of the Judicator, watching Earth rotate beneath him. He whispered, "Let's see what your stories do against ion disintegration." Inside the vault, Elara approached the standing figure. The memories spoke again. We were created when Earth retreated. Not in shame. In choice. They knew the galaxy would forget them, or distort them. So they encoded who they were into myth. Myth that would survive invasion, collapse, censorship. Elara asked, "Why me?" Because you read them, not as fables, but as coordinates. As legacy. The synthetic's chest opened, revealing a spherical core. Inside, raw memory threads. Billions. One floated toward her. It hovered before her eyes. Her grandfather's face. But younger. A soldier. A pilot. Standing on a scorched moon. She gasped. How? Every story told by a human contained pieces of lived memory. When Earth left the stars, it poured its essence into fiction. Now the threads converge. A new message played. If this activation has occurred, then the galaxy has once again forgotten humility. Let them watch. Let them remember. In orbit, Trelzon prepared the command. He activated the first targeting array. Charge at 30%. Begin scan. But something flickered on the whole screens. A constellation, Earth's stars, reconfigured again. They pulsed. Then every ship, every screen, every MindLink node on the Unity fleet began receiving broadcasts. Not just signals. Stories. Projected in real time, visual and neural, the fall of Troy, the legend of Gilgamesh, the battle of Kurukshetra, the Exodus, the last stand of the Earthborn on Titan. Narratives so rich, so overwhelming in emotional and historical force, they bypassed translation barriers. Trelzon screamed. Shut it down. His command crew stood motionless. Eyes glazed. Minds caught in streams of memory not their own. Shut it, shut it. One officer whispered, I saw a woman dive into a sea of stars holding her dying brother. It wasn't fake. It felt real. Another murmured, why would a primitive race encode such beauty into pain? Below, Elara stepped back as the vault's core pulsed brighter. Earth was telling its stories again, not to entertain. Not to deceive. To warn. To remind. To defend. She looked up through the glass ceiling at the stars above and whispered, they thought we left the galaxy because we were broken. The memories finished her thought. But we left because we remembered everything. The sky above Earth had stopped spinning. Not literally, but for the first time in centuries, every satellite, warship, and orbital station froze in shared attention. Earth's constellation broadcast hijacked all known neural bands, visuals, and even subconscious data channels. It didn't demand attention. It commanded it. And in orbit, Grand Scholar Trelzon was unraveling. Block the signal, he shouted, claws digging into the command panel. Disable Earth's orbital field. Blind them. No effect, sir, the technician replied, voice barely a whisper. The signal isn't digital. It's mnemonic. Organic level frequency. Trelzon's pupils contracted into slits. Then purge the source. Fire now. Silence. Did you not hear me? The gunner turned, pale. The weapons won't respond. Sir, they've been rerouted. Below, Elara stood atop the frozen vault platform, arms crossed, watching the stars pulse above. The air around her shimmered with active data. The ancient vault had interfaced with the orbital defense network in less than 2 minutes. She didn't need weapons. Earth's defense was its memory. Behind her, the synthetic body of the memory guardian stepped forward. It spoke in perfect human cadence, smooth and calm. You unlocked the final node. The constellation relay is now fully active. Earth's history is no longer confined to the archives. Elara glanced at it. Is it safe? Yes. And no. Safe from destruction? Yes. But not from consequence. She nodded once. Then it's time. Across the galaxy, chaos and stillness merged. In Unity-controlled colonies light years away, younglings of the Creole species stopped mid-lesson as their tablets lit up with Earth's folktales, animated, voiced, felt. The legend of Anansi. The trials of Hercules. The hymn of Gilgamesh. On distant mining outposts where workers rarely saw daylight, laborers wept watching reenactments of a little girl defying an empire with a single story, Joan of Arc encoded through visual dream feeds. They weren't passive viewers. They experienced the stories. Lived them. Every tale delivered not entertainment, but inheritance. And those who had mocked Earth, they were now inside it. Trelzon paced the bridge, ranting. Shut it off, kill the feed, erase their data. Sir, the XO interrupted. We have incoming. His voice faltered. Weapons? No. Delegates. From within the council. What? The screen blinked. Elder Koro of the Tsurai appeared in hologram. His eyes held no anger, only age. Trelzon. Enough. This is manipulation. Trelzon snapped. No, Koro said, softly. It's truth. Truth your generation tried to erase. Koro turned to address the fleet. Centuries ago, Earth chose to retreat, not in weakness, but because they believed the stars no longer listened. So they spoke to the future instead. In story. Trelzon snarled, they had weapons inside fiction. No, said Koro. They had warnings. Warnings you ignored. Back on Earth, Elara descended into the vault one last time. The Guardian extended its hand. You have unlocked all memory paths. But Earth's voice is not yours alone now. Elara hesitated. What happens next? We do not retaliate. We remember. She stared into the memory core, thousands of years of love, war, sorrow, sacrifice compressed into a single glowing orb. She placed her palm on it. And the galaxy heard her. Trelzon collapsed onto the bridge floor, panting. The ship's walls now displayed Earth's final message, not a threat, not a demand. A simple line, carved into the heavens. We remembered when you forgot. The council convened emergency protocol. The vote was unanimous. Earth's sovereignty reinstated. Permanent seat granted. Its classification changed from primitive archive species to cultural origin tier 0, unprecedented. Trelzon was removed from office the next cycle. His final remark before dismissal, you gave too much power to ghosts. Weeks later, the Unity Archive opened a new wing. The Hall of Human Memory. At its entrance, a quote from a Terran author no alien had known before. The universe is made of stories, not atoms. Muriel Rukeyser. Inside, children of every species sat cross-legged around holographic storytellers, digital avatars reciting tales in perfect cadence, some ancient, some recently rediscovered. One tale ended. A Tsarii child raised her hand. Is this story true? The hologram, styled after a Terran grandmother, smiled. That's the wrong question. What's the right one? Did it change you? Elara stood beneath Earth's constellation array, now a fixture in the sky, recognized across the stars not as a weapon, but as a signal flare of culture. She watched the stars breathe. Behind her, Asher's voice echoed from the slate. You did it. No, she replied. They did. I just remembered. The official ceremony was modest by Unity standards, no parades of lightships, no gravity-defying fireworks, but it held a weight heavier than metal. The Unity Council had returned Earth's seal, a single glyph once etched into ancient Terran rock, now gleaming on the dais of the Concorde's central chamber. Elara stood behind the podium, flanked by sentients of every known species. She wasn't dressed in regalia, just a worn leather coat and Earth-standard boots, practical, unassuming. I'm not here to speak on behalf of Earth, she began. Because Earth never stopped speaking. You just stopped listening. No applause. No interruption. Just silence. The kind that listened. The aftermath of the Red Constellation Protocol had done more than disrupt galactic systems, it had rewritten them. Communication structures, neural streams, historical archives, every corner of the galaxy now held a shadow of Earth's legacy embedded within. But Earth had refused to claim revenge, refused to dominate. It had only asked one thing. To be remembered accurately. Weeks later, Elara walked the dusty plains of Nevada. Not to visit family or ruins, but to find the last unlocked relay node buried in an abandoned human observatory. Asher's voice hummed in her earpiece. Signal strength increasing. You're near the convergence point. She climbed over rusted fences and knee-high brush. The telescope dome had collapsed long ago, but the floor still held etched glyphs, interstellar, yes, but also local. Earth had hidden global memory, not in power cores, but in everyday places. She placed her hand on the weather-worn stone. A small tremor. Dust lifted. From beneath her feet, light traced the cracks, forming a single holographic symbol above the dirt. Home. Meanwhile, aboard the newly christened Unity cultural vessel, Legacy 1, representatives from 73 systems were being briefed on Earth's first interstellar educational initiative, the Storyteller Program. No lasers. No tech trade. No weapons. Just narratives. Translated, adapted, performed, ancient Earth stories told on alien soil. The first performance? The Epic of Sundiata, told in multi-species rhythm to a Creel audience under the copper moons of Rithik. Children wept. Elders stood in awe. When asked if the story was literal, the human performer had smiled. It's truer than fact. Trelzon, now exiled, lived on an outer moon penal colony. No contact. No position. But rumors said he spoke aloud to the stars every night, cursing them for betraying him with stories. He had underestimated the one force Earth never abandoned. Memory. Elara returned to Antarctica one final time. The vaults no longer glowed, their task was complete. But she didn't come for activation. She came for understanding. The Guardian was still there. You've come to say goodbye, it said. I came to ask something first, she said. Ask. Why myths? Why encode everything in story? Why not facts, coordinates, instruction manuals? The Guardian paused. Because facts fade. Coordinates change. Manuals become obsolete. It stepped forward, voice softer now. But stories? Stories survive fire. War. Time. They outlive language. They pass through generations like breath. Elara stood quietly. Then nodded. That night, she recorded a final message. Not for the Council. Not for archives. For Earth. To those who doubted us, thank you. Because you forced us to record everything we ever were, not in stone, but in story. You mocked our fairy tales, not knowing they were warnings. You ridiculed our legends, unaware they were locked blueprints. And when you came to erase us, we let you see the truth the only way you'd ever understand. Through your own hearts. That was always humanity's strength. Not in ships. Not in weapons. In remembrance. We don't forget. Not the pain. Not the betrayal. Not the love, either. We remember everything. And we tell it, again and again, until even the stars remember us back. The message ended. Not with a signature. Just a fade into darkness, and a whisper. We never forgot. In a backwater cafe on planet Direth Prime, a child listened to that message play on an old comm screen. She turned to her father. Were humans always like that? He smiled. No. She frowned. Then what changed? He looked out the window, where Earth's constellations still hung in alien sky. They remembered who they were. And across the galaxy, wherever stories were told, under domes, across deserts, aboard broken stations, someone always ended with the same phrase. And this one? This one came from Earth.